The Trial of Shadows, a courtroom mystery thriller. The rain was relentless that night. It tapped against the tall glass windows of the city courthouse as if the storm itself was trying to get in. Inside, the corridors echoed with footsteps, the shuffle of papers, and the low murmur of lawyers preparing for what was being called the trial of the year. At the center of it all was the mysterious death of 24-year-old Clara Kensington, heiress to one of the wealthiest families in the state. Her body had been found 3 months earlier in her family's mansion, sprawled across the marble floor beneath a chandelier. The police report had been brief: death by suicide, pills and alcohol at the scene, case closed. But someone refused to let it end there. That someone was Emily Carter, Clara's childhood best friend. A woman who knew Clara better than anyone, who insisted that Clara would never, could never, take her own life. Emily had pushed, demanded, and begged for the case to be reopened. She even hired a lawyer with money she didn't have. And now, because of her stubbornness, the Kensington family name was on trial in front of the world. Opening statements. The courtroom was packed. Journalists lined the back row, cameras flashing whenever the doors opened. The Kensington family sat stone-faced on the defense side, led by patriarch Richard Kensington, a man whose wealth and power seemed to radiate from his tailored suit. Judge Rebecca Hole, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s, called the court to order. Emily's lawyer, Daniel Reeves, stood first. His voice carried through the room. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about truth, the truth of a young woman's death that was too quickly brushed aside. We will show you evidence, hidden bank records, threatening letters, and a recording Clara made the night before she died that proves she did not take her own life. She was silenced, and the person responsible is sitting right here in this courtroom." Gasps filled the air. Eyes darted toward the defense table. Richard Kensington's lawyer, a polished woman named Victoria Hale, rose calmly. "This is a tragedy, yes, but it is not murder. Clara was fragile, troubled. She battled depression for years. Her death was a personal tragedy, not a crime. The plaintiff's story is built on emotion, not facts." The stage was set. Witnesses and secrets. The prosecution began with Emily herself. She spoke with trembling conviction, telling stories of Clara's laughter, her plans, her dreams for the future. "She was planning to start her own art gallery," Emily said, her voice breaking. "She had just called me 2 days before. She was so excited." "Does that sound like someone about to give up on life?" Victoria Hale cross-examined with precision, pulling out medical records that showed Clara had been on antidepressants. "Miss Carter, isn't it true Clara had attempted self-harm once before, when she was 18? Emily's silence hung heavy. The jury shifted uncomfortably. Then came the housekeeper, Maria Alvarez. She testified that on the night of Clara's death, she had overheard a heated argument between Clara and her father, Richard. "She was shouting, crying," Maria said in accented English. "She told him, 'I know what you did. I won't keep your secret anymore.'" The courtroom buzzed. Richard Kensington's face remained unreadable, though his clenched jaw gave him away. Next, Daniel introduced a piece of evidence that silenced the room: a voicemail recording discovered on Clara's phone. Her voice shook as she spoke. "If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident. And it wasn't me. Please, Emily, don't let them cover this up." The jury sat frozen. Even Judge Howell leaned forward. The defense strikes back. But Victoria Hale wasn't finished. She produced Clara's personal diary, its pages filled with despair, passages of self-loathing, words like, "I can't go on," and "maybe this is the only way out." Clara Kensington, Victoria declared, was a deeply troubled young woman. The prosecution wants you to believe a grieving friend over Clara's own words. It was a powerful blow. And then a twist. Richard Kensington himself took the stand. His voice was deep, controlled, almost rehearsed. "My daughter was fragile. I loved her more than life. If I could trade places with her, I would. But Emily is mistaken. There was no murder, only sorrow." He dabbed his eyes with a handkerchief. Some jurors softened. The tide seemed to shift. A surprise witness. Just when it seemed the defense was winning, Daniel called one final witness. A man no one expected. Detective Mark Benson,
the original officer on the case. Benson looked uneasy as he took the stand. He admitted that he had closed the investigation in less than 48 hours at the request of the Kensington family. "They told me it was a suicide. They pressured me to end it quickly, said the family didn't want publicity." Daniel leaned forward. "Detective, is it standard procedure to close a suspicious death in 2 days without a full toxicology report?" Benson hesitated. "No, it's not." The courtroom erupted. And then came the final nail. Forensic reports showed the pills in Clara's system were not prescribed to her. They belonged to her father. Gasps filled the air. Richard's face went pale. The twist. But just as the jury was ready to condemn him, Emily noticed something in the diary. The handwriting on the final page, where Clara had supposedly written, "I can't go on," looked slightly different, more rigid, less fluid. A handwriting expert was called in overnight. The next morning, he confirmed it. The last entries in Clara's diary were forged. By whom? The answer shocked everyone. It wasn't Richard Kensington. It was his lawyer, Victoria Hale. Emails uncovered from her office computer revealed that she had altered Clara's diary and planted it as evidence, all to protect her most lucrative client. The courtroom gasped louder than ever. The judge's gavel slammed down. "Victoria Hale, you are under arrest for obstruction of justice and evidence tampering." Verdict and aftermath. With the false evidence removed, the jury deliberated for only 3 hours. They returned with a unanimous verdict. Richard Kensington was guilty of second-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to 25 years in prison. As Richard was led away, he turned to Emily. His mask of wealth and power had crumbled. His voice was low, venomous. "You don't know what you've started." But Emily didn't flinch. Clara had her justice. The storm outside had finally cleared, and inside the courthouse, the shadows had been dragged into the light. The end.